Okay, today I'm going to show you how to make a little gnome head out of your clay. So we're going to make a gnome sculpture today. And of course he is not finished. I still have to fire him and paint him and decorate him. He is going to be so cute when we're done with this. All right, so first we need to talk about our clay. All right, our clay that we're using should be cold to the touch and squishy, but firm enough to make a sculpture, right? We call this the plastic stage. It has a lot of plasticity in it. So this is the plastic stage. This is slip. You will also be using this. It's just watered down clay, kind of like mud, right? So we're gonna be using this also to help smooth out any cracks and also glue down our head and our nose to our gnome. All right, so now one thing you need to know is when you sit here and you play with your clay in your hands and you squish it and you roll it around, it starts to dry out. We do not want that. It's really important that you don't touch your clay more than you have to and roll it around more than you have to, because then it starts doing this. When it loses its moisture, it loses its plasticity and it's not able to mold to your shapes. Kind of hard to make something out of that, right? So do not dry out your clay by playing with it. Your hands take all the moisture out of the clay. So that's a big rule. Another rule is if you mess up on your gnome and you want to start over, it happens. Do not start over without letting your teacher know, please. Do not squish it down and then remake your clay, because then guess what's gonna happen? It is going to create air bubbles inside of here, little bitty air bubbles. Sounds harmless, right? Well, when you fire it in the kiln, it gets so hot, those air bubbles have nowhere to go. And guess what happens to your clay project if you captured air bubbles in it? Everything blows up. Your project is ruined and probably somebody else's, okay? So do not crush your project and start over without your teacher's help. Your teacher can help you make sure that your clay is reusable if you need to start over. Another rule is do not use slip without permission. This is only for gluing things down. This is like your glue. And for those extreme cases where you need to fix a crack or something in your sculpture. If you add too much of this to this, then this is gonna turn into a mess, right? It's gonna be all watery and squishy and it's gonna turn into mud, okay? So do not overuse this, very important. All right, so today we are going to start by making the head, all right? So it's just a little block of clay. You need to form this into a ball as best you can. Don't roll it around to get too much in your hands though. Don't be like, oh, there's a little bump there and I can't move on. I'm gonna keep rolling it around in my hands, because guess what's gonna happen, guys? It's gonna dry out and get cracks. All right, so you can use the palms of your hands. Don't press real hard. Just a little bit of pressure goes a long way if you have nice wet clay here, okay? And I'm just pressing some corners down. It's not gonna be perfect. Also make sure you don't have any dry clay here. You don't want it to get stuck inside your wet clay. All right, so I have my ball. I didn't over roll it, right? There still might be a little crack or two here, but that's okay. We're not done with this project. We're not trying to make a perfect ball. Now we're gonna make what's called a pinch pot. I have my ball cupped in my hands, like it's a little baby bird, right? Gently cupped in my hands to protect the shape. I'm gonna take my thumb and I'm going to stick it inside my ball. See, boop, 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 boop. I got a little clay head. All right, take my thumb out. I have a nice deep hole in there, not all the way through though. Now I'm going to take my hands. I'm gonna keep my thumb in there and I'm going to pinch the side of it with my whole hand. Okay, it's like it's a little duck. Quack, 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 quack. Okay, so you're gonna take it and gently squeeze, not too much, and turn. Squeeze, turn until you get all the sides the same thickness. You want, for this project, your pinch pot's gonna be a little small, maybe more like a cup, right? So you wanna keep your sides pretty thick because you want it to be nice sturdy base for your sculpture, okay? And then now I'm just going to kind of go around and just make sure that it's kind of as even as it can be. All right, so I have a nice little head. This is going to be his head. It's going to sit like that. Now we are going to make the hat. All right, so we're going to make this little pointy hat. I have a slab of clay. It's rolled out flat. It's about 1/4 inch thick. And then I have a stencil. So I made this stencil out of a paper plate. I cut the paper plate in half, folded this in half, trimmed off a little side here, a little bit here, and it was the perfect size for my little gnome hat. So I'm going to carefully place my stencil on my slab clay. Try not to press too hard on this. You do not want to make it thin. You don't want to make it too thin. And then I'm going to take a little clay tool. This, you can use one of these, or you can use just a regular old plastic butter knife. And I'm going to carefully cut out my shape. All this extra clay, we put it aside. Don't play with it, because we're going to use some of it later, and then we can also save it for another project. All right, so I'm going to put this away. Okay, so I have my stencil here. Now I'm going to take my other part of the paper plate. It's the same stencil. I just rolled it up and stapled it to create a cone. So this is going to help me create my hat. I am going to, before I do that, I need to score and slip this. So what that means is I'm going to, along the straight edge, I'm going to gently draw little lines crossing over each other, kind of like a hashtag. Little X's or lines just along one straight edge here. Do not go all the way through your clay. So I didn't press so hard that I ripped all the way through my clay. You can't see it on the other side. Just a little bit, very, very softly. And then I'm gonna take my finger and dip it into the slip. This is my glue. I'm going to get some of this slip on top of these on top of the scoring here. Don't sit there and rub it real hard, because then you're gonna get rid of the scoring. All right, now I am going to place my cone, my paper cone, inside on the middle. I'm just gonna lay it down. You don't want it way up here. You want it a little bit below the center of it. And I am going to wrap the side that does not have the scoring on it. I'm gonna wrap that around carefully, okay? And then I'm just going to roll it. All right. Okay, and so I have my hat, okay? So, and then I'm going to take and just kind of press just gently. I have one hand inside of my cone so that I don't crush my form. And I'm just gently pressing, and I'm gonna smooth this out here. I'm just gonna smooth it out with my finger. Okay, and you see all these, I don't know if you can see that, these little cracks here? That means that it's a little dry and it's showing the texture. I just got the tiniest bit, one finger, guys, one little dip. One finger, no more than that. Don't stick your whole hand in there. And I'm just rubbing this gently to smooth out any cracks. A little bit more, just a tiny, tiny bit goes a long, long way. If you add too much, you're gonna regret it. It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna melt everywhere. All right. If you have extra hanging off like that, you can cut that off. I'm gonna cut that off right there. All right, take your cone off. Now we want to stick this on top of the head. All right, so I am going to take my hat upside down. On the very inside, I am gonna just do some light scoring all around the inside of the hat. Okay, light scoring all on the inside edge of the hat. Get my slip and add it around here. Don't take too long to do this. We have to get this all done in one sitting. Once this dries, you cannot add anything to it. Okay, and then I'm going to stick it on here, and I want my hat to kind of go a little bit towards the back. Okay, so this part, I'm gonna stick it back like that. And I'm just gonna gently tap it. I don't want to blend this in. I want the hat to look like it's separate. So I'm just gonna kind of gently gently press it. And then you can leave it pointy like that, or if you want it to be a little bit more crooked, you can gently, do not be real harsh. You got to be very soft and gentle. You can gently make it bend over to a side. All right, so my hat is on. I am pretty happy with that. Now, you're gonna take your extra clay, take a little pinch. This is the easiest part. Roll it into a ball. You can have an itty bitty tiny nose or a big nose. I kind of like the bigger nose for the gnomes. They usually tend to have a big nose. Just make a ball. Now you are going to score where the nose goes. It's gonna go right under the hat, the center of the face. So I scored it here, scored it here. I'm gonna add a little slip, and I'm going to make sure it's really, don't just set it on there, you have to press down. But don't press so hard that you ruin it, okay? And I'm just gonna sit here and kind of smooth things out here. All right, now you can leave it like that. If you wanna add some nostrils, take your pencil, underneath, not in front. Do not add holes in front and make him look like a piggy. We're making a gnome. Underneath where your nostrils would be, you just poke a hole straight through like that, and he has little nostrils. And then we turn it over, and in the very back of your hat, you're gonna take and poke 2 holes. I'm gonna do 3 for some reason. I feel like 3. 2 or 3 holes so that you have an air hole for your hat and it doesn't explode in the kiln. And there is step 1 of our gnome. Now we just let him dry and I fire him in the kiln, and we will paint him and decorate him next time.